everyone. Welcome back to the Quantum Experience. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by Harriet van der Vliet. Harriet is the head of Strategic R&D Markets at Oxford Instruments. Harriet, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Cool. So this series, this is well, what number is this? I think this is the 5th edition now, and the whole point of this series is to hopefully conjure some interest in the younger generation, and hopefully we can get people to consider quantum computing and the surrounding technologies as a career option. So, Harriet, I think we should start. Well, you told me you're in a brand new job, head of strategic R&D markets. That's I prepared that in the mirror 3 times this morning. So, could you tell us maybe a little bit about yourself and who are you and what's your background?
Yeah. So, Dr. Harriet van der Vliet. I have been a physicist forever. Although I'm no longer a physicist, I suppose, in my role, you never lose it. So that's something very nice. So I did my undergrad and masters, so like the MSci physics course, just straight physics, at university at Royal Holloway, University of London, and then wanted to get a job in the real world and not in academia. So applied for a variety of different grad schemes, didn't get any of them. So I thought, what else should I do? And I actually loved my master's project so much that I applied for the PhD in that group. So I was working with an Oxford Instruments dilution refrigerator since 2012 when I started my MSci year, and then my PhD was half funded by Oxford Instruments. So well, it's probably the longest PhD title in the world, but the short version is Platforms for New Quantum Technologies. So I was cooling down different devices, whether this be a 2-dimensional electron gas or a new superconductor that we don't know what the critical temperature is, for example, cooling it down to microkelvin temperatures, so less than a millikelvin, so very, very, very cold, and measuring the temperature of the electrons directly, or various properties of the materials. And I loved working with fridges a lot. So during my PhD, I then, which was also at Royal Holloway, with the most fantastic group of people. So it really was a lovely part of academia. And I then kind of at conferences, I would take my CV and just try and speak to as many people in the cryogenics industry. And I knew I wanted to work in cryogenics and not stay in academia. So that's why I applied for a role at Oxford Instruments. And I went into the NPI team, so the like new product introduction, new product development kind of team as a quantum engineer. So that was a long time ago. That was 2017. So it's not how you envisage a quantum engineer nowadays, which is more what you see in the quantum companies. But this was me being a physicist, a cryogenic engineer, really working on the brand new systems that the quantum technology industry would require for the future. So whether this be new fridges or larger fridges or things, different measurement techniques that they might need for the quantum industry. I did that for about 4 years, and then I moved to the front end of the business in product management. So I was the product segment manager of quantum technologies for Oxford Instruments Nanoscience, which I did for about 4 and a bit years. And yeah, I loved being at the front of the business, speaking with customers all the time, presenting at conferences, taking kind of my physics knowledge and using it to talk to customers about what they want to do and how they can use our products. And then very recently have transitioned over to a different business unit within Oxford Instruments. So now I'm at plasma technology. And so Nanoscience makes all of the low temperature cryostats, dilution refrigerators, and superconducting magnets. So historically, first commercial spin out from Oxford Uni, made the first commercial dilution fridge to cool down to very low temperatures, put the first commercial magnet in a MRI scanner in 1980s. So there's a lot of history with that kind of thing. And then plasma technology was acquired by Oxford Instruments for its capability in etch and deposition processes. So plasma technology make all of the tools for the clean room for etch and deposition that you might need in a lot of industries, including compound semi, 2D materials, data comms, that kind of thing, but also quantum, which is where I bring my my quantum side over to this role. So I've been in it about a month. It's all very new, and I'm learning all about the clean room. So
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much. You just to go back a minute or two there. So what would you say was your first exposure that you remember to maybe quantum physics or quantum technology that you remember?
yeah, well, physics in general. So I was actually at a ballet school for my secondary school. So I have a very different background to most people that work in the science industry. And my physics teachers were amazing. So I originally wanted to do science and maths as a backup in case I didn't have a career as a ballerina, but I didn't think I would actually use it or love it this much. So I wanted to do physics, biology, and chemistry, but my biology and chemistry teachers I didn't quite gel with. But my
Yeah.
physics teachers, two women, Mrs. Allen and Mrs. Smith, they absolutely inspired me to do physics. There was only two people in my A-level physics course, me and my friend Jenny. So it was a very small amount of people who chose to do science in my school. And yeah, I just absolutely loved it. So learned a lot of stuff, learned that I loved experiments and really finding out what you could about things. So then when I went to uni, our first introduction really probably to quantum was through quantum mechanics or quantum theory, I suppose. I found it really hard. I had to try really hard to understand pretty much any of it. And it was a battle, I think. But then the things you could do with that quantum physics knowledge, that's what made me probably continue to try to get into that area of physics. And I suppose with quantum physics, because I was doing low temperature stuff for my master's and PhD, it kind of already leads you into well, you're exposed to quantum physics because it's low temperature, so everything is acting in those ways using quantum mechanics. So it's kind of like natural that I had to go that way because I love low temperature physics research.
It's interesting because from the other people that I've spoken to and asked similar questions, it does seem that all roads lead to quantum mechanics. It doesn't seem like people traditionally, everyone just sort of falls into it really weirdly. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess that's the point. But yeah, it's
I
interesting.
think nowadays people are quite lucky that there are so many obvious career choices in quantum.
Yeah, you're
But
absolutely right.
when I was looking for jobs or starting my career, most of these quantum technology or quantum computing companies did not exist. So it's such a new and growing industry that people are so lucky nowadays that they have all this choice, and you can see those careers, so you then know what you need to study earlier on in order to get to those careers, and particularly with engineering. So historically, you would be a mechanical engineer or a systems engineer or some kind of engineering in those traditional engineering companies. The quantum industry is absolutely desperate for engineers. So we are a lot of physicists working in startups and out of academia. And that's great for the taking their technology out of academia into a startup. But then you need the engineers to take that idea of physics or that idea into a product that's reliable, repeatable, and can be sold widely to the market to use. So yes, it's so important to get more scientists and mostly engineers into this career path, I suppose.
Yeah, thank you. That was really insightful. So there may be some people who are watching this who are considering their options. Well, hopefully, and I think this is an important question for those people to hear from those that are currently in the industry. So, are there any mistakes that you made, maybe even early in your career, or maybe even more recently, that was a big learning experience for you?
I think the biggest, well, not regret, because you don't really have regrets because you learn from everything, I suppose. But the biggest
No.
regret I have is not concentrating on any of my coding. So
Okay.
I ignored all modules that had any type of computer programming in it. I did it because it was compulsory. But then when it came to my fourth year, so my master's year, I tried everything in my best not to do those courses because I found it hard. I didn't understand programming really at all. And I wish I'd have put myself through it because it's really useful for, well, not only during your PhD because of taking data and actually using those skills like Python and everything, but also in industry. So when I went into being a quantum engineer, cryogenic engineer, effectively, it would have been really great to already know without being thrown in at the deep end and having to learn on the spot, those kind of things. So that's, I mean, I definitely would have done more modules in coding if I could go back. But then something that I think was really useful that everybody that is starting either as an A-level student or an undergrad or whatever is doing placements. So through a placement, you learn what you dislike as well as what you like. So I did so many placements to try and figure out what area of physics I really wanted to work in, because it's so vast. You can work in so many different industries, markets, and yeah, doing placements, getting in touch with these quantum companies. They really want to inspire and teach. So yeah, that's what I would do.
That's interesting because talking about placements and finding out what you like and what you dislike, I know it's obviously less of an individual pursuit now that you're in your current role, but do you take that thinking into your current position? Is it easier to decipher what's interesting and what's not? Obviously, with Oxford Instruments' interests behind you, but
yeah, I guess so. I mean, at the start of my career, I was lucky enough to get on a program with Oxford Instruments because there's quite a lot of nice development, and they it's a great company. I could sing its praises for far too much. That's not the purpose of this call. But they put me on this early careers program. So I had the opportunity to go and work at a different business unit and do a secondment effectively to something totally different, not in cryogenics. It was about atomic force microscopy, and so our asylum research business in California. And so that was something that was completely out of my comfort zone. I was already in my career. I was ready to go, just stick on cryogenics. But that taught me so many things, not just, I don't know, experiences, culture, working in a different workplace, but with the security and safety of actually having your real job back home. But also that I really didn't like room temperature at the time. And I really wanted to be in the lab, and I really wanted to be hands-on doing the work. So yeah, I learned from that as well. I guess currently it's much more business focused what I do now. So I'm not in the lab anymore. I'm not thinking about those kind of things. So but without all of that, I probably would not have the role I have now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.